Hello, everybody. Welcome. Welcome. Happy Monday. Welcome to the beginning of the week. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for coming to our Earn the Commission That You Deserve. This is an intro to our Get Your Full Commission, the MAPS group coaching program. And we've really distilled it down for this class. So it's not just an intro to pique your interest in it. You're getting a lot of great material today. And in the Get Your Full Commission group coaching program, the subtitle on it is Make More Money. And it's for the seller, the cooperating broker, and you. So we're looking to make more money for three parties, and we'll talk about that in here. I'm Kevin Reitzel. I've been an agent for about 20 years and with Keller Williams since 2005 and love doing all of this training and love coaching agents. So I'm so happy that you're on the call with me today. Jim Reitzel's not with us today, my father. Unfortunately, he's on a plane right now that got delayed. But the most important thing that you should care about with this slide is that we've spent the last 20 years consistently getting 25 to 50% more commission per deal than agents in our area. So it's really our proven systems together with the MAPS models and systems. We're excited to be part of this group coaching program that helps you make more money for the seller, the cooperating agent, and you. And just before we start, we all know there are no set or standard commissions in the real estate industry. Commissions are negotiable, and you can charge whatever you want to charge. And for the purpose of this call, come from curiosity. So we'll all have that drunk monkey on our shoulder that Diana Kokoska likes to talk about, the person that's saying the negative things. And there'll be a lot of negative thoughts like that won't work, I can't do that, my sellers are looking for this, whatever it is, just come from curiosity. And all suggestions are valid. So I like this to be more of an open topic. So we have the questions box in your GoToWebinar panel, and you can I should be back now. I apologize there. We had some technical difficulties with the phone, but I'm back. So I was just talking about the questions pane. We'll be using that in your GoToWebinar panel that pops out on the side. So if you can locate that, you can type any questions and we can deal with any issues that you might have during this. So we know that as a real estate industry, we cannot set commissions. However, as an individual, you can. You could have a minimum or maximum commission. And some misunderstandings when it comes to commission. And I like to go over some of these misunderstandings. And of course, that's a word used by Gary Keller a lot in his presentation. So the first misunderstanding is people want to pay less. And it's a good misunderstanding. We kind of assume that. However, when you drive home this afternoon or tonight, check out all of your neighbors' cars. Because we know they're not going to be the cheapest ones. So do people really want to pay less? Or do they just think they do? Because if people really wanted to pay less, there would probably be three models of cars out there. The cheap little hatchback, the maybe mid-size kind of SUV, and then the minivan. And that would be it. Maybe people don't want to pay less. Number two, if you pay less, it will save you money. Well, have you ever bought something cheap and it costs you more money later on? And people won't use me if they can find somebody cheaper. National Association of Realtors statistics say 72% of sellers interview only one agent. People want to deal with who they know and trust. It's that simple. People want to deal with who they know and trust. Gary Keller talks about it a lot. He talked about it a lot at Family Reunion on stage, that if you build your database and you're working with people, people want to deal with who they know and trust. They don't want to deal with somebody on a billboard or somebody online. And the bold law at the bottom, I use this every day, multiple times a day, but change the way you look at things and the things you look at change. It's pretty amazing. That's what we're going to do today is we're going to change the way that we look at things. Now, here's where you can type in some of the question box or type in the question box. So knowing that the average realtor makes that per year, 18 to 24,000 a year, how much money did you want to make when you got into real estate? How much money did you want to make when you got into real estate? $100,000, it's a good one. 100K, I have some 75K, 500,000, 150,000, good. I like that. Now, are you charging what the average realtor charges? And that's a to me. So I wanted to make more than the average realtor makes, but are we charging what the average realtor charges? Because if we're not, then what gives? Now, I'm going to preface this a little bit. So for the sake of this class, we've used 6% as a high commission. So some people might be in an area where the normal commission is 7% or the normal commission is 8%. We don't want the number to put you off here. So if you're in an area where it maybe used to be 8 and now it's slid to 7, well, the 6 is your 8 number just for the purpose of this class. So we had to take some sort of standard throughout North America, and 6 is a high one. So 6 would be 50% more or 25% more than a lot of agents are charging in your area. So to answer this question, why are some agents taking listings then at the high end, at 6%? Why are they doing it? Type in the question box. Why do you think they're doing it? Because they're professional. I like that. Worth it. I love that. Value proposition. Love it. Oh, I love everybody typing in here. That's what the purpose of this is so we can think about it. Mindset. That's a big one. Standard. Awesome. I'm going to move on from this one and move it to 5. So why are some agents taking listings at 5%? Hopes of getting it. So hope of getting the listing. Desperate. Just to get the listing, seller pressure. Good. You might be catching on here now. Why are some agents taking listings at 4%? Would do anything to get the listing. Weak agent. Inexperienced. Doesn't help when I'm trying to read and write at the same time. Afraid to say no. I like that. New agent. I love these. Now, why are some agents taking listings at 3%? No self-worth. Worth. Needs more training. I like that. Wow, they've really started to slow down here as we get lower. Why not 2%? Discounting is commonplace in the market. I got for the last one. Drunk. Not worth my time. The broker. No value proposition. Yeah, they definitely come in slower on that one. This is really what it comes to throughout this exercise. And it does get quiet towards the end every time, which is interesting. When we got to 4%, there wasn't as many people talking. 3%, a lot less. 2%, some jokes. What I'm getting at here is we've all drawn a line in the sand. We don't know why we've drawn the line in the sand. We may not know how we drew the line in the sand, but we drew a line in the sand. So we won't go there. I won't go to that number, whatever number it is, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You have a place in your mind where you won't go below. And that's good, because now all we need to do to get you to charge more commission is change your line. That's it. When it got real quiet, or when we got to a number to where you said, why is Kevin even talking about that? Don't bring up these numbers. We don't want to talk about this. It's that your gut, your stomach kind of turned when I hit a certain number, whatever that number is for you, and it's because I crossed your line. Mentally, you have a bottom line. We probably just never thought about it. So this is our time to think about it and erase the line and move it. Because what happens when somebody hits your bottom line number? You're like a cat backed into a corner, and you'll start fighting for your number. So all we have to do is erase the line and redraw it to the point to where you're fighting for that number, but it's a higher number. So just raise the bar. And actually, this is it. This is the key to the whole program. If we could all just redraw our line in the sand, it would be over with, because we'll figure out the rest. If I've decided to do something, I'll figure out the rest. That's what happens naturally. So we have the line in the sand. Let's just redraw it. And once you're there in that place mentally that you've decided, now everything opens up. It's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool that we're talking about commission. I really like this. I like this opportunity because not many people are even talking about it. So this was the why we did it. So why we decided to increase our commission. Number one was for the seller. So we believe in the benefits to the seller, and we go over that a lot, what the benefits to the seller are. We also believe in the benefits to the cooperating broker. See, it's the reason Keller Williams can train and teach and give away everything, because we understand that agents aren't our competition. I'm not competing against other agents. When I list a home, it's going to be another agent that sells my listing. So I view my cooperating agents as customers, and I want to treat my customers right, because they're going to be selling my listings. And I even talked to a seller that way. And then number three was for us, because we'd have a great business. And I've been training people for years and years on commission, and some agents in the hallways would talk about, oh, that's the Reitzel magic. And I used to stop them and try to explain it. And then I would say, yeah, it is. You're right. It's just the Reitzel magic, because I can't explain it walking by them in the hallway. But it's not our magic. It's just something that we decided to focus on and think about. So the why we do it's very important, because that keeps it going in my mind. Why am I doing this? Whenever I think I might be on a downslide, I go back to, well, this is why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for the benefit of the seller. So I can't let them out-negotiate me, because that's what I do. I'm a negotiator. I can't let them out-negotiate me and get the commission down, because that hurts them in the long run. So if you were the seller, put yourself in the seller's shoes, why would you want to pay more? And Teresa, we're about to get to some of that stuff. Why would you want to pay more? To get more, because you get what you pay for. I like that. Sell quick. You get what you pay for to get the best deal. Interesting. The best deal by paying more. The best is not cheap. They usually cost more. Cool. Now, so moving on, if you were the seller, now why would you want to pay less? Save money came up right away. Pretty much it, isn't it? So if I think about this, those two slides could actually be in my listing presentation. They're not, but these are all the reasons why you would want to pay more as a seller. These are the reasons you'd want to say pay less. The perception of saving money. What do you get when you pay less? I'm not even going to look for an answer here because we all know it's this. It's less. It's a great script. What do you get when you pay less? Less. What more could you do for your seller if you had more money to spend on them? So what more could you do for them? Marketing, prospecting, drones and great photos. Could be staging. And could those items net your seller more money? I'll put a yes there. 6% is 50% more money to you, or whatever your percentage is. If it's 8, 50% more money to you, but it's only 1 or 2 to the seller. Come on, it's only 1%. It's only 2%. And it really is. So when I'm talking to a seller, 1% is 1%. It's 1% of the value of their home. However, when they're talking to me and they're saying, hey, why don't you just lower your commission by 1%? Well, now I have to stop them. And I go, whoa. That's not 1%. That's 20%. So you wanting, I get it's a 1% discount on commission, but that's 20% of my paycheck. See, I have to change the way I look at things because it's 1% to them. If they have a $300,000 house, 1% is $3,000. Well, that's 1% of the check they would get at the end. But it's not 1% to me, is it? That's not 1% of the check I would get at the end. No, it's 20% of the check I would get at the end by saying it is 1%. And I use that a lot. So if sellers try to turn it around on me and say, hey, how about half a point? Just cut out half a point to make this come together. Well, I calculate what that half a point is. So is it 30% of my paycheck? Is it 15% of my paycheck? And then this can also cause me, when I'm negotiating commission, to think differently. So I could actually say to them, how about I discount my commission by 10%? Well, that's a little different, isn't it? So if I'm at 6% commission and I discount my commission by 10%, well, that's actually 0.6. So I'd go down to 5.4. But 10% sounds like a nicer savings than 1. So we do have to watch how we say this. And if the sellers are ever using 1% or 1 point on me, I've got to flip it because it's big. It's big money. And if we're looking at, so what is, let's say I'm at that $300,000 house. 1% is $3,000. Well, that's big. That's a lot of money. See, we hear about big numbers a lot. That's a lot of money. And let's say I got 1% more on 10 deals. Well, what would that be? Oh, 30,000. See, these numbers get big really quick. They also get big really quick on the other end. Do you think that paying a co-op agent more could make them work harder to sell your listings? You see, sellers hire me to sell their house, but in reality, I'm not going to sell it. Another agent is. And I talk to them about this. You've hired me to sell your house? Well, sorry, I'm not going to sell your house. I'm going to put the sign in the lawn. I'm going to market your home. I'm going to provide you with great service. I'm going to keep you protected, and I'm going to guide you through the process. But I'm likely not going to sell your home. Another realtor is. So wouldn't I want to best motivate the people that are going to sell their home? And I used to think about it as good or bad, right or wrong. And it used to be part of my script, good or bad, right or wrong. It actually still is, and you'll hear it. Good or bad, right or wrong, realtors will go where the money is. And I've started thinking about it a lot over these past few years, kind of watching my wife in the regular world, getting regular jobs. Well, if there's a job out there paying 40 grand a year and somebody's at that job and they're looking for a job paying 50 grand a year, and they find that job and they go get it, do we call them a bad person? Because let's say they were working wherever, they were working for an insurance company at 40 grand a year. Well, aren't their duties, their fiduciary duties to that insurance company? They are, but they're out looking for a job paying more. And we don't consider those people bad people. So why would we think realtors would act differently than human beings? Because it's human nature to go to where the money is. So good or bad, right or wrong, realtors will do it just like human beings will do it. And having co-op agents work harder, do you think that could net your seller more money? Well, yeah. And that's pretty important. So no one ever really takes the time to think about commissions. And I think it's for a few reasons. I think for about 30 years, commissions were pretty steady. They didn't move much. And they've started on a downward trend over the last several years. So we don't have really any training. And even in Keller Williams, we're the number one training company in the world. And we don't have a lot of training on commission. But now we do. Now we're starting it. So this is our time to take a stand for commissions instead of complaining about it. And I love that. I love that you're here to take a stand for commissions. And even if you learn nothing out of today, at least you spent an hour thinking about commission. And that's pretty cool. And do you believe that a seller can net more money with you as their realtor than selling the home themselves? Do you really believe that? Do you honestly believe it? And I sure hope you do. So now let's start living it. National Association of Realtors stats say that for sale by owners net on average 15% less than we're working with a realtor. So isn't that amazing? I'm basically free to them. If I'm charging anything under 15% to sell their home, I'm free to them and I'm going to make them money. That's kind of neat. So I know a seller can net more money with me and they need me. And this is the options given us to us in the real estate industry to make more money. We do more calls, more open houses, more door knocking, more marketing. And I believe the industry has betrayed us because we have awards for units, we have awards for volume, but we don't have any awards for commission per deal. Almost all of our training is focused around getting more deals to make more money. But I look at it, it's only half the equation. There's the number of deals, and then there's how much I'm making per deal. So now we have a better option on how to make more money. And do you want to list homes at 6%? And again, 6 is just the high number here for this class. But just think about it. Do you actually want to charge more? Because I can give you the tools to charge more. Tools. But it's like I can give you the tools to drywall your basement. If you don't want to drywall your basement, well, you know what? You're not going to drywall your basement. You're just going to pay somebody else to do it. But if you want to do it and you decide to do it, then we can put the tools into play. Then we can use those tools. So you've got to want to do it. I can't want it for you as much as I do want it for you. Because if you don't want to list homes higher, then do you want to help others? Do you want to help others? Because remember, we're charging this for the benefit of the seller, the benefit of the cooperating broker, and the benefit of you. So if we lose the focus on why we do what we're doing, we can start charging less and end up hurting everybody. So we all want to help others, and how we help them in these situations by charging more, not less. And with that focus, this will work. Without it, it's just a hope or a dream. And I like to tell some people, I'm doing it for the seller, the cooperating broker, and myself. So if I don't believe one of these reasons, if I say, forget about the cooperating broker, I don't like them, I don't like realtors, well, then so be it. Do it for 2 out of 3 reasons. Do it for the seller and yourself. Help somebody. And how we help in this situation, charging more. And are you the best agent for the job? Are you the best agent for the job? And I hope everybody's saying yes right now, because you had better be. And actually, if you weren't the best agent for the job, I could probably say it's against your fiduciary duties as a realtor, and you'd be violating your code of ethics. And you would probably have to recommend them to somebody else. Because if you're not the best agent for the job, then you probably shouldn't be in real estate. It would be a big disservice to the seller. Well, now, what is the best charge? Does the best anything charge the least? Just think about it. So think about this. Let me give you an example. The police come to your door right now, arrest you. You're handcuffed, hands behind your back. Which lawyer do you call? Do you call the most expensive lawyer that you can afford, or do you call the cheapest lawyer? Yeah, you call the best. And the best almost always charges more, not less. We won't find the best lawyer for the cheapest. And this is big. Remember, this is big to your clients. This is probably one of their largest investments. This is like a murder charge on the opposite end, on the good end of it. This is one of their largest investments. We want the best for them. We want to save them. We want to save them, well, money for one, because we want them to net more. And we want to save them from getting maybe a less reputable realtor. We want them having the best. Have you ever thought about commissions? Because what I found is most realtors haven't thought about commissions, like really thought about it. We all think about how we can do more deals, but we don't take the time to think about the commission thing. And it's a funny thing because it's something that should matter most to us. So I'm guessing you've thought about commissions a little bit since you're taking this program. But stop and think about commissions. Nobody likes to stop and think about commissions. Again, we just like to complain about it. And what if I fail? What if I fail and I don't get 6? Or what if I fail and I don't get 8? Because that's the high end in my market. Well, something really cool happens if I fail. So my market, for example, my local market, it would be around 4% would be most listings. And what I found is a lot of them are actually charging 3 and paying out 2. So they're keeping 1, paying out 2. So I'm at a 3 to 4% kind of market, and I'm charging 6. But what happens if I fail and I don't get 6? Which number am I fighting for? I'm now actually fighting for 5. That's pretty cool. So if I fail, I still get 25% more commission than most realtors in my area by failing. And I love that kind of failure. And it's when I go back to my car then after that listing presentation, when I got them to sign the paperwork and I failed and I only got 5%, I of course think about, well, what did I do wrong? How did I mess up there? And yay, congratulations, because I got 25% more commission than most realtors in my area. The 4 and the 3 never comes up. Never comes up when I'm at 6. It's now I'm fighting for 6 or 5. And it's a pretty cool thing that just happens naturally. So that's pretty awesome. If you show up prepared to talk about commission, you're going to earn the highest commissions. That's from Jay Papasan from the vision speech last year up on stage with Gary. You can actually still view it on KW Connect. When they talked about commissions, it was right near the end. A few years ago, Gary Keller and Jay Papasan did a year-long research on commissions. And then they revisited every year just to look at it. And this is what they came out with. This is the basis of it, the basics. If you show up prepared to talk about commissions, like you're doing right now, you're going to earn a higher commission just by preparing to talk about it. Well, that's awesome. This is also from the vision speech. These are slides, these are statistics from the National Association of Realtors, but they're in the vision speech. You can actually download this. What sellers want most from their agents? What's not on the list? What's missing? Kind of blew my mind when this came up there. When this came up on stage and I was sitting in that room at family reunion, I went, wow, commission. Commission is not even on the list. It's not on the list. So this is National Association of Realtors calling people and asking them, what do you want most from your agent? So up at the top there, market the home to buyers, sell the home within a time frame, price it, find a buyer, fix up the home. That's kind of 90% if I go through that, the top 5. But commission isn't even on the list. It's not even 1%. So how about I just become good at those top 3 things or the top 5 things? Because this is sellers telling me as a realtor what they want from me. So how about I just give them what they want? Commission's not even on the list. We all think it's number 1, and it's not even on the list. Now, why do we think it's on the list? No, I have reasons why I think that it's on the list. Well, one would be is sellers ask us about it. When they call up, hey, what's your commission rate? Well, what I know by this now is they don't care about it. So why are they asking me? And the reason is it's because the only question we taught them to ask us. We as a real estate industry taught the public to ask us that question. And it actually probably comes from our friends in the mortgage industry, because they'll post those signs out on the boulevard about the lowest mortgage rate at whatever it starts with a 1 or a 2 or a 3. I tell buyers, who cares what it is? If it's starting with a 2 or a 3, take it. It kind of doesn't matter. But the mortgage industry would always put those signs out on the boulevard. And then, of course, that was a thing to ask a mortgage agent. What's the rate? Because that's what everybody's advertising. And I think that bled over to us. the real estate industry is what's the rate. So they're asking it, and understanding this is important. They're asking about commission because it's the only question they know to ask. And it's probably a bad question to ask, right? When you think about it, it's not a great question. I could come up with 50 better questions. Like one of them would be, do you know how to sell a home? That would be a better question to ask instead of what you charge. Because I don't care what you charge if you don't know how to sell a home. Now, I can't change that. I can't change the question that people ask, but having this knowledge that they actually don't care about that question helps me deal with it a lot. So they're asking me about commission, but I know they don't care about it because here's the stats. So how about I just give them what they want and I can answer their question. Seller interviews. I mentioned it briefly before, but I love this slide. 72% of sellers interviewed one agent before deciding who to list with. Like, come on, that's exciting. That's exciting. Because what does that mean to me? It means if I'm at their table, I've got the listing. That's what that number tells me. 3/4 of the time, if I'm sitting with a seller, it's my listing. That's awesome. Oh, and you know what? They don't care about commission because we learned that on the previous slide. So they don't care about commission and they're listing with me because I'm sitting with them at the table because 3/4 of them only interviewed one agent and I happen to be an agent. 1 or 2 is up near 90%. So 90% of places I list, they may have interviewed one other agent and that's it. And that percentage is going up. Isn't that amazing? 3/4 of the time, I'm sticking on this for a reason. 3/4 of the time, I'm sitting with a seller, they're listing with me, and they don't care about commission. So now it's up to me. Now it's up to me to lose that listing. It's up to me to mess it up because they're listing with me. And if I have that attitude, that's awesome too. What to say when somebody asks what you charge? So I actually don't care when they ask this. So if somebody calls me on the phone, if somebody emails me, if I'm door knocking and I'm at their front door, during my listing presentation, they ask, hey, what's your commission rate? What do you charge? This is all I ever say. It's flexible, and actually you get to choose. We talk about that more when we sign the papers. So there's actually a lot going on in this little script, and I suggest you just use it how it is because it works. Gary, a few years ago, this is probably 5 years ago up on stage, Gary Keller, after his year-long research on commissions, mentioned that if a realtor had the term flexible in their script, on average, they earn 20% more. Well, of course, we went home and added the word flexible because it used to be you get to choose. So now I say it's flexible, and actually you get to choose. We talk about that more when we sign the papers. Anytime somebody asks me about commission, because it doesn't matter what I say. If I say a number, I'm pretty much done on the phone, right? Because that's all they're asking. They asked a question, I answered it, and my answer they could compare to other people. So they'll just hang up. Even though they don't care about the answer to the question, it's the only question we taught them to ask, so it must be important. All I have to do is answer their question. It's flexible, and actually you get to choose. We talk about that more when we sign the papers. On the phone, over email, at the front door, during my listing consultation. That's it. Oh, I already went through the whys. So this is our commission table talk. And I call it a commission table talk and not a script because we all hate scripts. I hated them for years. Diana Kokoska taught me to love them, but I hated them for years. I had a realization from saying so long that I hate scripts that we're all using scripts all day, every day in the real estate industry. we're using scripts. You have scripts. To find out your scripts, all I would have to do is follow you around for a week and write down everything you said. Because whatever you said is your script. You're probably going to say it again. Next time somebody asks you that question, you're going to say it again. So I've renamed it from script to table talk, because this is me now talking with a seller. And this is my script. I have the guide here, and we go through this more in the group coaching program, that I write down each time that just guides me through the script. That's what this 95, 6, 8. So you'll hear it as I go through it. So this is my simple talk about commission right at the end. So right at the end of everything, just before we're signing the listing paperwork. So I've done all the measuring. I've done everything. Now we're about to sign the listing. And this is what I talk about. So I'll go ahead. So I say, I'm here as your consultant. So I have to tell you that 95% of homes are listed below 6%. And it's actually the first reason why we recommend listing at 6%, because it gives us a big leg up over the other listings out there. So the average realtor sells 8 homes a year. So they're literally starving to death. Now, let's say you were looking for a job. All things being equal, you'd have the same job working in the same building with the same people. One job's paying 40 grand a year, another job's paying 50 grand a year, and another's paying 60 grand a year. Which job would you choose? Yeah, the 60 grand a year. Well, what I found out is realtors are no different than you. Good or bad, right or wrong, we found that realtors will work harder to sell your home because they're getting paid a little more. In fact, I have many realtors that tell us they look at our listings every day just because of this. Now, in this one, I open my hand with my thumb facing up and all fingers pointing out. I say, let's say there are 5 homes for sale, and one of them's at 6%, and that's my thumb. I point at it, and some of them are at 5 and 4. Which one do you think is going to get on every realtor's list? And I grab my thumb, and I go, yeah, you're right, this one. Probably a few of the others, but we want to be on everybody's list. And when does a buyer decide to buy? I used to think it was curb appeal or the kitchen. It's really the 30-minute rule. It's what's the realtor saying 30 minutes after seeing the home? So the agent driving down the road could say, oh, and it's near the ski hills. Look at this view. Or they could say, oh, it's near the ski hills. Can you imagine looking at those lights all the time and traffic? How about we go see this one over here that I'm getting paid a little more on? Now, of course, they won't say that last little bit, but all things being equal, we're not promoting a waste dump site. We don't have areas like that. Now, let's say we have an accepted offer on your home, and it's conditional on financing and home inspection. And on the last day the conditions are due, because it's always the last day, the buyer's agent calls me and tells me that the buyers want to lower their price by $6,000 due to a list of items. Now, when the agent's done, I state that I can't speak for the seller, but bring me an amendment and remind your buyers that they could lose the house by opening up negotiations, and take a look at your paycheck. And then I hang up the phone. Most of the time, 2 hours later, I get a waiver through removing conditions, and there's no price adjustment. Now, several things probably went through that agent's mind. One is they realized that the items the buyers noted weren't that important, and that every home has stuff to fix. And the agent realized that they could have to show homes for another month or 2 and possibly get half the paycheck. So this really all helps us get the most for your home and keep the deal together. Does that make sense to you? Good. Let's move on. The hardest part at the end is to stop talking. I say stop talking. Realtors, we're very good at talking, and it's the hardest part is to stop talking. Say what you got to say and then stop talking. One of the basic rules of negotiations is the first person to talk loses. So at the end of that, I could say, yeah, and does it, Did that make sense about how agents will work, harder, or we could, I found a lot of people says the more you pay, you're done, you're toast. Because by talking, what you've done is you've opened up negotiations. Say what you got to say and stop talking. What I do, I like to bite my tongue. I play a game. Because, of course, we love talking. We have all this great knowledge, and we just want to spew it out. I bite my tongue, and I start counting. And I see how high I can get the number. And I actually still do it to this day, even though I don't have to. I like the counting and seeing what I can get the number to. Sometimes it's 5, sometimes it's 30. But I know I can't talk. Because I've said my piece, and I've asked them a question at the end. So now it's their time to talk, not my time. I can't talk. I've got to wait for them to respond first. And 90% of the time it ends there. It's literally that high. 90 to 95% of the time it ends there. It's that simple. I'm going to go back here for a second. What I like about this talk at the table is it takes them from beginning to end. So they're listing with me. There's realtors, there's showings, there's 30 minutes after the showing, there's then an offer, there's a waiver and an amendment. So I've taken them through the whole process. I said, does that kind of make sense to you? Good. And they say, yeah, that makes sense. I go, good, let's move on. And now it's 6% on the listing and they sign and we're off. 5 to 10% of the time, the seller will have a question about commission. So the key to negotiations is the person with the most options wins. So let's discuss some options. So these are a 6% question and answers, also known as objection handlers. The objection handler is another word I had an issue with in all of my training. Because to me, an objection is a bad thing, right? An objection, I'm viewing a lawyer in court going, I object to that. So that's an objection. So how do I handle an objection? A seller's going, I object. Well, no, it's actually not an objection. And I don't view it as an objection. To me, it's a question. So they're asking me a question. I just have to answer their question. It's not an objection, because if they objected to Kevin Reitzel, I wouldn't be at their table. They would say, Kevin, please get up and leave. That's an objection. And I've never had that. Or an objection is, you got the listing and I didn't. They objected to me. They called you. And that's okay. But that's an objection. So if I want to feel bad, I can feel bad every time another realtor gets a listing because all those sellers objected to me. But if I'm at their table, it's not an objection. It's a question. So now I just have to answer their question. And I just have a few of them that we'll go over here, and there's so many more in our group coaching program. So now the seller says, that's a lot of money. My answer is, yeah, it's a lot of money. And then I stop talking. I acknowledge it, and then let's move on. Because what else can I say? It is a lot of money, so let's just acknowledge what it is. Because it really doesn't matter what my percentage is, does it? It's a lot of money. So let's say I had a $600,000 home. 6% of that is $36,000. Well, that's a lot of money. But you know what? 4% is $24,000. And you know what? That's a lot of money. So just acknowledge it and stop talking, because it doesn't matter what the number is. It's a lot of money. And many times now I'll actually say, yeah, that's a lot of money. It's $36,000. I'll calculate it for them. I'll pull out my calculator and I'll go, yeah, it's $36,000. It's a lot of money. And then stop talking. Just acknowledge it for what it is. Seller says, I don't want to pay 6%. Well, where does our mind go automatically? It goes to 5. Well, it doesn't have to. So I say, okay, how about 5.99? I actually got to 5.95 once before somebody said, oh, okay, forget it. Let's just go for it. See, if they say, I don't want to pay 6 and I go to 5, well, I'm dropping by like 20% on the first shot. The first shot, I'm dropping by 20%. So if you're uncomfortable doing the 5.99, that's okay if you're uncomfortable doing that. Don't go to 5, at least go to 5.75, or at least go to 5.5 instead of jumping right to 5. Instead of jumping right down 1%, we can go in increments. That's okay too. I have somebody that'll do it for X. Well, that agent can't even negotiate their own commission. The thing that should mean the most to them. Your home is probably one of your largest investments. Do you want a bad negotiator handling that transaction? Kind of like a kaboom. Like, what else is there to say? Are they going to say yeah? And it's a question at the end. So it's a question, meaning I have to wait for their answer. I can't now keep talking because that would be interrupting them. And there's the silence isn't necessarily just a negotiation tactic. It also takes us time to understand things. I'm sure a lot of you have been kind of zoning in and out, even during this training class. Come on, we're talking about commission. This is going to be tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars to you. But of course, there's something more important going on. And you're checking your email, or you're thinking what's going to be for dinner, or how quickly can I get to my next appointment? So your mind's wavering. Well, theirs is too. So a pause, as when I pause during this, your attention probably snaps back for a second. And now you have to think about, oh, what did Kevin just say? And you have to absorb it. So it's another reason for questions is now they have to absorb it. And when you look at it that way, you go, yeah, geez, right off the bat, it's kind of an acid test, isn't it, for realtors? And I use it sometimes, but it's an acid test. I can tell how good of a negotiator somebody is by their commission. I can actually use that on listings. So if I'm showing a home to a buyer, I can look at the commission they're paying out. It can tell me a lot about them. It can tell me how good of a negotiator they are. And I can use that information too. There's kind of enough said there. They can't even negotiate their own commission. I have a lot more dealing with that one as well. I also have a buyer's agent script. So this is something I email out. So any listing that is, let's say, discounted for the lack of a better word, I send out this email. So I've noticed that your seller on 123 Main Street is paying 2% commission. Would they be willing to pay 2.5 if we got an accepted offer? And I send this to every showing I do. So every showing that's below or discounted, let's say, I send this out. And there's a lot in this, like with any script. But I've noticed your seller. That isn't blaming the agent. I'm not going, hey, John or Susie, hey, John, you're only paying me 2. Can you give me a little more? It's not coming off that way. So I'm not blaming the agent. I'm blaming the seller. And would they be willing to pay 2.5 if we got an accepted offer? So yeah, it kind of makes sense, right? We get an accepted offer, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. Most of the time on this email alone, most of the time, I'm talking 70, 80% of the time, I get back a yeah, or an okay, or for the right price. Now, I'll go over why I did this. So in my market, as I mentioned, commissions were on a downturn. And I was actually a little ticked off as an agent. Because I work hard at this. I do a lot of training. I take a lot of training, and I train. I spend a lot on education every year. I'm trying to better myself and better all the realtors. And my fellow realtors in town said, yeah, Kevin, you deserve a 25% pay cut. And I went, whoa, all I'm doing is getting better and you lowered my paycheck. So my first way was, how do I get my paycheck back? And then how do I change the world? Because that's my goal, is to change the real estate industry when it comes to commissions. So how I change the world, according to Michael Jackson, is change yourself. So I had to change myself. So the second big reason is to give those listing agents ammunition for their next listing. So hopefully they can get a higher commission. So if John now on his next listing appointment, because I can't get John from whatever company to come to this class, hopefully John on his next listing appointment could go, I actually had 5 agents email me on my last listing asking for more commission. Maybe we should offer more commission. It might get John thinking and then give him some sort of ammunition to change the real estate world and to get us focusing on commissions. So that was really why on the buyer's end. Now, I'll go back to this email script here. So it's an email. And what is negotiation? Negotiation is asking questions. So this is asking questions. This is me negotiating. The reason it's an email was, in my local area, we're not allowed to negotiate commissions at the time of an offer. So I had to negotiate commissions before an offer. And this was my way to negotiate them. Now, I can go into that. I could go back to my buyer presentation, and on my buyer representation agreement, I could have the buyers top up my commission, or the buyers are going to pay it, or I can work it through the lawyers to where it goes in. I can do all of that stuff as well. What I liked about this is something I can do today and start making money on it. I don't have to revamp anything. And the same holds true for that commission table talk. I've been doing this for 20 years and getting higher commissions. I don't have anything special, meaning there's no PowerPoint presentation for it. This isn't part of my listing presentation. There's no animated video. There's no laser light show. There's nothing fancy going on. It's just me talking about it. And the buyer's agent script was something I could do today to make 25% more money with an email. I'm willing to send those emails all day long because it's me negotiating. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm an expert negotiator, as you are, being a realtor. So that one was big because we can do it now. And sort of in closing here, from Gary Keller, if you've never discounted your commission, then you don't have a big enough business. So don't feel bad if you've discounted your commissions. We all have. I have discounted my commission. I will discount my commission in the future. I don't want to make it a standard practice. So the purpose of today was to give you a few tools to help you out in the future and to not make it a practice. I also have, if I do discount my commission, it's usually in product or service. So I'm repairing a stove or buying a water system or something like that. And I like doing that stuff because I can. I still don't do it on every deal, not even close, but I will do it. So it's going to happen. It's not a bad thing. We just don't want to make it common. And also, who else is talking about this stuff, this commission stuff? Because it's very risky talking about it. Because realtors are afraid of having this conversation. So me being here right now, even talking to you, is probably risky. So my point of that is I want to thank Keller Williams for allowing us to have this discussion and even spend an hour thinking about this. We also have the full program coming up, and it starts this week, March 21st. So that's the link, but it's on the group coaching site. It's called Get Your Full Commission. It's a 4-week program. It's 1 hour every week for 4 weeks, where we delve into this a lot more. There's more scripts, more tools, more mindset in it, but you got a good basis here because you don't need all the tools. We just need something. So thank you everybody for coming out. I hope to see some of you on March 21st. Thank you so much and have a great day and afternoon.